Hello, and thanks for stopping by Sunbelt Valve Body Builders. Today we're working on 09G valve bodies, also known TF60SN. We got a few that we've already remanufactured and already in the test mode. Let me show you how we test them. Come on over here. The equipment that we use to test our valve bodies is the VBT4000. Basically what this piece of equipment is, it's a simulator. We're able to take our valve body, install it on our test plate, and test it like if it was in your vehicle. And basically at this point we're checking for electrical and for pressures as well. But before we get on the test, let's set up a few parameters first. The first thing we like to do is make sure that our oil is at the right temperature. Let's check it and see. It's almost there. We'd like to be at about 160 degrees when we test our valve bodies. By the time we get our test going, we'll be up to temperature. The next thing that we like to do is go ahead and check our voltages. We like to set up our voltages between 12.7 and 12.9. That is the minimum specs required for those solenoids to work properly. Our thinking behind that is if they work great at the minimum specs, at 13.5 or 14 or above, when they're in your vehicle, they'll work great because you're applying full voltage to them. Okay? So that's why we set that up that way. The next thing we do before we get ready, we go ahead and go to our software, which is called Zoom Technology. What this software does is basically simulate if it was in the vehicle, the valve body. So first thing we'd like to go ahead and do is test the solenoids. Right now the computer's taking a value of the resistance and electricity current going through them. And as you can see, all the solenoids passed at this point. So that means we're ready to go and perform the next part of the test. This next page that we're going to be going to is called the shift page. And what this is basically the computer automatically will start shifting the valve body. What we'd like to do is set it up on a 2-second interval. So we go ahead and set it up on 2 seconds. Next thing you want to do is make sure that our valve body is in drive, and let's make sure, and it is. I'm going to go ahead and start the machine. As you can see at this point, the valve body is being filled with pressure, hot oil pressure. We'd like to start a test with at least 100 pounds of mainline pressure. Let's check our gauge to make sure that we're having at least 100 pounds to start our test with. And we are. So at this point here, we're ready to perform this test. We go back over to our shift menu. What I'm going to do now, and the vehicle's already in drive, so what I'm going to do is turn on the automatic mode. What you're seeing here is automatically shifting the valve body. Let's go through it. First gear, second gear, third gear, fourth gear, fifth gear, sixth gear, and lockup. If you look at the screen, what you're noticing is for every shift sequence, you can see that the solenoids are turning off and on depending on the command from TCM. This tells us that all the solenoids are working properly according to the schedule. We're also looking at duty cycles, and we're also looking at amperage. This is very important. Let's go back over to the valve body machine. What we're also looking at is our gauges here. Every shift, first gear, second gear, third gear, has readings that should be for every shift schedule. So what we like to do is when we shift the valve body with the machine, we're looking at our gauges to make sure that the pressures are correct for every shift. We also like to let the valve body sit on the machine for a period of a half hour or a little bit longer. The reason we do that is we want our valve bodies to get really hot. Also, most problems occur after the car gets hot anyway, so we're trying to do as much road simulation as we can. After this valve body is set on our valve body machine for at least a half hour, what we like to do is we'll perform a couple other load tests on the solenoids themselves. Okay. Once we feel confident this valve body's been shifting good for a period of time, it's ready to be taken off the machine, drained, packed, and shipped to one of our clients. We'd like to thank you today for coming by and talking to us at Sunbelt Valve Bodies.